Hey guys, it's Numistacker back with you today, and this time we're going to take a look at one of the most knowledgeable and best sovereign guys on the planet, Steve Hill, who's the editor of the Sovereign Bible. And I had the pleasure of speaking to him a while back and getting his opinion on sovereigns as a collector's coin. So let's get into it and see exactly what he had to say on the subject. So we're going to pretty much dive in straight away and hear what Steve has to say about all aspects of sovereign collecting. And I just want to say that the sovereigns that are going to appear next in this video are part of my collection. They're not coins which are in stock at Sovereign Rarities, but they do make a nice, pleasant visual backdrop to the audio recording that I made of Steve and myself in conversation about sovereigns. So let's hear from Steve. Steve, you're one of the leading world experts on gold sovereigns. So what advice would you give to a new sovereign collector starting out with these wonderful coins?
It really is an international coin, the sovereign, and it is a good one to start with, certainly. If you're going to really get seriously into it, the best thing a collector can do is to get out there to a coin fair, meet the dealers, talk to them. Don't be afraid, always ask about coins. They'll be happy to tell you about them. They'll be happy to advise you about grading, about knowing which coins are more interesting than others for any given reason, due to a backstory behind them or a date or whatever. Get to know your dealer, get to trust in someone who you get to know well from making a few purchases with them. Also, always buy the book before the coin. When you're going to start out and look at coins as a serious thing, always look for a good book to sort of encourage you and to tell you more about the series first, even if it's just a general history book at first, to know what area you want to concentrate on, and then go from there and just go to as many fairs as you can, really.
Thanks very much, Steve. And one of the things that I've noticed recently is a great big upswing of interest in modern sovereigns, especially with all the new issues coming out of the Raw Mint, special strike on the day sovereigns, the Indian series, for example. But in your opinion, apart from the ones that are obvious, those special years where the patterns are different on the back, 1989 up to 2017, what hidden gems do you think are out there for collectors to search for, and what do you think might have a good positive future?
I think more interesting sovereigns are the ones to look out for, probably in the modern, if you're talking about the more modern series, the low mintages at the moment of certain things. I mean, obviously you've got the things like the strike on the day, and you've got the plain edge, and you've got these matte proof finishes that are being done now. Some of these have got very low mintage numbers. But also look at the unks, because I think some of the unk coins, the ones that aren't proofs, sometimes have quite low mintages too, and sometimes they're even lower than the proofs. If you're going to look at the older sovereign series, then perhaps go and look at the scarcer dates there, because mintage figures normally give away how many there are compared to a year either side, perhaps. And if you can see there's a lower mintage figure, then you can sort of assume that date is going to be rare. But mintage figures don't always actually equate to that actual date. The actual date on the coin might have been struck a little bit into the next year or whatever. But basically, look for any unusual nuance in mintage figures, I think, really is the key.
If you're thinking about buying the kind of coins you'd normally buy at the Raw Mint, there is an alternative. Why not try Coin Connection, the company that wraps your gold in beautiful pink tissue paper? 2% off during July with checkout code Keith. That's checkout code Keith. Steve, let's talk about proof sovereigns, because when I first started collecting sovereigns myself, I noticed that proof and BU coins were pretty much the same kind of price for a number of years, and nobody was really paying a premium for the proofs. In the last 2 or 3 years, there seems to have been a pretty noticeable difference in the premium attached to proof sovereigns as opposed to the main bullion sovereigns. In your opinion, do you think this trend is going to continue, and do you think that proofs will continue to be recognised a little bit more for the beauty and artistic qualities that they provide?
Yes, I think they will. I think proofs are definitely more widely collected than they have been in the past. There was a time, maybe going back 10, 15 years ago, where they were just all lumped in together with sort of with Unk coins or bullion type coins anyway. But I think as time has moved on and sovereigns become a lot more popular internationally as well. It's not just in the UK after all. I think collectors have really come to covet and enjoy having the proof coins when they come with the box and the certificate. I mean, the bullion coin only comes literally just as a coin without a box, whereas the proof one is a specially minted one with a highly polished surface. It's different to the bullion. It's certificated that way, and I think a lot of new collectors actually appreciate the packaging just as much as they appreciate the coin sometimes, especially with a lot of the new collectors who've been emerging these days. So yes, they're a good thing to have, the proofs.
Those people who've been collecting sovereigns for a while will be aware that there's lots of different ways they can be collected, lots of different attributes. What would be your advice to collectors maybe who are a little bit more advanced, and what should they really pay attention to when buying? Is age the most important? Should they go for the oldest? Is condition the most important? Is low mintage the thing to look for? Or maybe should they get into those kind of micro differences in variety collections? So, Steve, what's your take on this?
Well, the basic advice really with that is there are three things. The first thing, the foremost thing, is really the quality of the coin. Condition is what it's all about. It doesn't matter so much about the age, really. Whatever coin you're buying, whether it's one that was only struck in the last year or so, if it was one that's 50 years old or 200 years old, it's quality that's the key. You always want to try and get the best you can afford, the best quality you can afford, basically. So if you've got £2,000 to spend, buy one really good coin for £2,000, the best quality you can find. Number two, next thing I'd look out for is the rarity. You want to look at what it's not always about what was minted, especially if it's an older coin. There might be a big mintage figure, might be 5 million minted of a sovereign from the 1850s, let's say. But some of those dates, they didn't survive very well because they've been lost or melted down for some reason. And sometimes it's about what survives in the market. It's very hard to gauge that, of course, but it's all about rarity as well. And obviously there are rare dates that people really covet, like 1828, 1841, that sort of thing. So rarity is number two. And then it's the research comes after that. Number three is the research, sorting out what is a rare coin as opposed to another, and reading, doing the background reading, and looking at sales lists and auction catalogues, and speaking to the dealers to find out what's rare and what's not.
There's some absolutely great advice there, Steve, but I want to ask you the $64 million question. We've now had 202 years of the modern sovereign after the anniversary, and if you could pick one coin maybe for collectors to search for, it may not be a star at the moment, something to put away for the next 20 years, what would be your pick, Steve?
It's a very hard question to answer, that one. It's hard to make a pick of any known coin because most research has been done and we know what are the rare dates, we know what are the rare nuances on the coins. Obviously it's always exciting when new varieties appear, but I think there's been a lot of research in the last 10 or 15 years into the different sort of Roman ones and errors in proper errors, I mean, as well, not just sort of an overstrike or something, but something where they've actually put the wrong figure in first, whether it's in the legend or in the date, and they've had to correct it afterwards. And there are things out there which people will find. I mean, I think they're genuinely rare, a lot of these things. I mean, like I'm just thinking, I think it's the 1862, you get R over inverted R in Victoria. That's a real rarity. You know, they don't see that very often. There are a lot of rare varieties from that period of time, before the die number series starts in Queen Victoria's time. So anything that's an unusual true error variety where they've done one figure over another upside down or something like that is always going to be a much more interesting thing than something that's just a sort of double strike or something. So that's what I would suggest, to go for rare varieties like that.
Some great advice there, Steve. Thank you very much for that. You mentioned earlier that it's better to buy the book before the coin. So I'd just like to let you guys out there know that there's no better book on sovereigns than the Marsh book, which was edited a few years ago, I think 2 or 3 years ago, by Steve, and it's available, and it brought together the full sovereign book and the half sovereign book, and it's probably the best source of information on the sovereign that is out there. But Steve, what's going to happen with that book? What's the plans for that book and revising it? Because there's a lot of collectors out there who'd like to see a new edition.
That's a good question again. I mean, basically, the edition that's already out there, I mean, it was done to a certain so many thousand books to be produced. With these things, they need to really sell the first run before they think about doing the second one. I think originally the idea was maybe it's going to be a once in a 5-year book, but it may be sooner. I think it's been selling very well. I think it might well get round to working on another edition sooner than that, perhaps. And I think the potential is to add more new varieties. Obviously, there have been a few things that were missed out in the book. There are a few corrections to be made. It's never a perfect book, but you know, there will be new varieties that have turned up since, which need to be added. And I think we may even think about putting in things like £2 and £5 pieces, because we've already got the sovereigns, half sovereigns, and quarter sovereigns. So why not do the £2 and £5 as well? So there is good potential there.
So watch out at some stage for the new revised edition. And before I let Steve go, I just want to give all of you guys a reminder of the Sovereign Rarities #2 auction, which is happening in London on Tuesday the 24th of September. I'll put a link below to give you the particulars to register as a bidder in case you're interested in picking up any of these amazing rarities or some sovereigns at that auction. Thanks very much, Steve.
Thank you.
So I hope you guys found that interesting and informative. Steve isn't really a big guy for social media, so we don't really get to hear his views very often, but it's really interesting to hear what he has to say on the subject. He is over at Sovereign Rarities if you want to talk to him yourself, and I'm sure they'd be very glad to get your call and put you through to Steve if you have any sovereign questions. Hope you like the video and look forward to the next one.